Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got some straight fire for today. We're going to have the Fed. We're going to have a Euro stablecoin talk. And we've also got some testimony from the Senate bank hearing today from Nellie Liang, the Undersecretary to the Treasury Department, and Elizabeth Warren basically demanding and reminding the Undersecretary how to do their job. Can somebody say systemically important stable coins and FSOC? Come on in and roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove, and everything that we're talking about here today. $1.981 trillion market cap, ladies and gentlemen. It's February 15, 2022. Take a look at it. The market is up 5% right now. Bitcoin 44,000 plus. Ethereum now over $3,100. Number 6 spot is XRP at 82 cents. We're up more than 4% on the 24-hour. Range of price right now is 78 cents on the bottom, 83 on the top. We'll keep an eye on it. Let's get started here. I like this. This is linked to Private Investing Made Simple, where you can get all of the major companies that are in this space. Remember Coinbase? It used to be on there. Remember SoFi? Remember seeing all those names at the Super Bowl? Because I remember seeing it while watching the game. That's the kind of companies they have on this platform. And I remind you that Link2 is the place to get them. So make sure you check out the link. You do have to be accredited. But one thing I wanted to tell you is this is very exciting, because they talk about the fact that one of the second objectives of this company is to create a secondary market where the investors can trade these pre-IPO or pre-public exit companies amongst each other in the back end, just like we do in the retail secondary market for crypto. That's the kind of vision they have at Link2. Make sure you check them out. Now let's take a look at this, because today at 3:30 on Liz Clayman, Gary Gensler from the SEC is going to be on there. Now, I have tagged her, Eleanor Terrett, and Charles Gasparino, and I have asked, because I understand that they're not going to talk about the SEC versus Ripple case. They can't. I get it. But I tell you what they can do. They could ask Gary Gensler if he is going to call for a public audit of the Ethereum initial coin offering, so we can find out exactly how decentralized or not it actually may be. I have a feeling, because Joseph Lubin was describing how to disguise your identity in order to invest if you were a whale, we might find out otherwise. So we are going to see how that goes. This is John Deaton right here, representing over 65,000 XRP holders. He says, you know what, Liz, you could also ask for legitimate questions. Please read this article from Jason Foster from Empower Oversight regarding the gross appearances of impropriety and conflict of interest. John Deaton is on fire. Any question in that realm would be acceptable too, Liz. Let's see how it goes today. Federal Reserve puts out this tweet and says, would the U.S. CBDC replace cash or paper currency? It goes on to say, while the Federal Reserve has made no decisions on whether to pursue or implement a central bank digital currency, or known as CBDC, we have been exploring the potential benefits and risk of CBDCs from a variety of angles, including through technological research experimentation. It goes on to finish and say, the Federal Reserve Board issued a discussion paper examining pros and cons of a potential U.S. CBDC. As a part of this process, we are seeking public feedback on a range of topics related to CBDC. The Federal Reserve is committed to hearing a wide range of voices on these topics. Now, we're about to see some other information that really proves to me, to be honest with you, that the U.S. is a laggard intentionally. I don't think behind the scenes that they're a laggard. I think that they're intentionally going to be one of the last ones to announce that they're going to do this for the momentum and drive of the market to move into here, and making sure that a lot of the world actors and players on the world stage are already positioned and have their CBDC developed and piloted. Taking a look here from Wrath of Comment. If you're not following Wrath of Comment, you really should. This came out of nowhere. He says Stasis will issue a Euro stablecoin using the XRP ledger. It looks something like they mentioned in a subscriber newsletter. The article is light on details, but the headline is captivating. But no other outlet seems to have picked it up. When you go into this, he basically lays this out perfectly here. He says Stasis itself, the network of the EURS stablecoin, which we reported on that before, is based on Ethereum. And the ERC20 token has its own wallet, and they have been around for a few years. Seem fairly transparent to his rookie eyes, with about $130 million of value tapped in the ERC20 stablecoin. It says here, the original article claims Ripple is offering support, which is really interesting, if true, and it might put a stablecoin on the XRP ledger. Could we get to see how that might affect on-demand liquidity? Again, you should be following him. He's pretty amazing. And I'll tell you, to his point, I want to remind you of two things. One, the federated sidechains from the XRP ledger that will allow seamlessly to bridge from the Ethereum network to the XRP ledger. And number two, the recent joining of Ripple as a partner onto the Digital Euro Association to help the 27 nations launch a CBDC. You can only imagine how this all might shake out here. Obviously, the implications are looking really strong for an interoperable coordinated effort. We will keep an eye on it. Taking a look right here, speaking of interoperable coordinated effort, this feature can give Ripple an edge of bridging between CBDCs and its XRP. That's what the article says. And that's the reminder here about understanding this EURS stablecoin being an ERC20 token and understanding how this may play a relationship with the XRP ledger and bridging through those federated sidechains. Again, we have to keep an eye and follow this, how it develops, but things are getting very, very intriguing here. Now, there's an article here that came out from Finance Feeds. The court case could make XRP the only crypto asset with regulatory clarity in the United States. Look, that's how I've been seeing it all along. You guys, if you've been with me for any length of time, you know that that's what I've been saying. This case is not just a legal matter. It is a vetting process. It is an auditing and vetting process. There are no criminal charges and never have been associated with this case. It is simply the SEC claiming that the XRP is unregistered securities. Now, quite damning, in fact, on that part, because the SEC is trying to reach back and say everything that you and I have bought off the retail market and secondary market is also a security as well. Obviously, I do not agree with that, and that's where we've gotten very lucky and grateful to have somebody like John Deaton, who has decided to represent the 65,000 plus XRP holders. If you are not represented, go to cryptolaw.us or go to John Deaton's page, click the links to get you the opportunity to be able to fill out the form where you can remain anonymous and join that class action. This is what I see. Ripple case is not just a criminal matter. It's a vetting process to determine what this new technology is and whether it should or should not have been registered with the SEC. That's the end of that. But we got more for you. We got more for you because this is JV saying it. And I've got 4 different clips of straight fire that are going to really show you that we are over the target when it comes to following our investment here. Because we're in this crypto space, we're all speculators and prospecting on what we think is an investment, what isn't, what matters first, stablecoins, CBDCs, the on and off ramps to this market, and how the government is trying to stall the effort of the growth of this space long enough to be able to make sure that they got the whistle to be the referee on the field here. And he says, breaking, Senator Warren just announced that she is writing a crypto bill, and she is writing a crypto bill, but that's not all I got for you. Let's start with this first clip here with the gentleman from Tennessee, I believe it is, on stablecoins that are stable are a vital component to keep the global reserve currency stable. Now we're starting to understand why the White House is saying that the crypto executive order that's going to drop is a matter of national security. They're talking about the global reserve currency, US dollar. We talk about it all the time, the impact of the digital asset space. Listen to this clip very quickly here.
Money market fund. I think as we look at this, we should be just particularly careful to accommodate the great potential that this shows, to recognize that we want to keep America a competitive market, that's in the interest of our economic security. We also need to take our national security interest into account. But I hope that we do so in a way that it continues to make America a desired jurisdiction to do this, rather than pushing this activity, which is very jurisdictionally movable.
So he's really telling it right there and acknowledging, if we don't embrace this innovation and get this regulation figured out, it's going to get up and it's going to get out of town and it's going to move to another part of the world.
We'd rather do it here than push it to another market where we would have much less control and visibility on it.
I would agree with your comment, and stable coins that are stable, tied to the U.S. dollar that are stable, I think would be an important component of preserving a global reserve currency.
Yeah, I think that we should work together to make certain that our vital concerns, our vital national security concerns, are addressed as we try to make this market the leader, where the time is of the essence here, because these markets are highly competitive.
Yes.
And a tremendous amount of capital is moving around the globe right now, trying to search for a reason there. I'd like to turn my ability for just a minute, my last question, regarding the FSOC's ability to address designating financial market utilities is systemically important under Title 8 of the Dodd-Frank Act. If you were to take this market and address the utilities here as systematically important, the stablecoin market is much smaller than many of the systemically important financial market utilities. How would you go about making this determination, and would this be the first time that such a designation has been made under Title 8?
Yes, the short answer to your question about Title 8 for this would be yes, under the.
And there you go. It's a yes, ladies and gentlemen. He's asking about systemically important designations from FSOC. Where you heard that before? That's right here on this channel for over 2 years. That's where you've heard that. Now let's get to the second clip, because, oh wait, just like the ShamWow, there's more. We got more for you. And look here, Elizabeth Warren sets the stage. Now be very careful as you listen to this, because she continues this FSOC conversation. And do you agree stablecoin risks are a threat that could become systemic? Listen to this question right here.
Investor protection, or to state that the President's Working Group on Financial Markets recently identified a long list of risks posed by stablecoins: run risk, payment system risk, concentrated economic power, illicit finance, investor protection. Or to state that in slightly fancy, less fancy terms, it found that stablecoins run the risk of helping cheaters steal people's money, financing terrorism, cyber attack, ransoms, and the drug trade, causing a run on the financial system like we saw in 2008, and allowing big stablecoin users to dominate markets and harm consumers. Now, Secretary Lang, do you agree that these kinds of risks mean that stablecoins are not just an emerging threat to our financial system, but a threat that could become systemic if this market continues to grow rapidly?
So, Senator Warren, thank you for the question. So I do think there is some urgency to considering stablecoins and applying the appropriate regulations to reduce run risk and the potential for them to scale up quickly.
So are you, just let me remind you what my question is. Do they pose the threat of becoming a systemic risk?
Of becoming a systemic risk, yes.
Yes.
Well, there you have it. Another yes towards systemic risk. Now, what you're not seeing just yet that you're about to see in these next two short clips here is you're about to see that Elizabeth Warren is walking her into a trap, because she is the Undersecretary of the U.S. Treasury. And she obviously is connected to FSOC. And FSOC, if you have gone to the website like I have done many times on this channel, They can take action because they are a prudential regulator. They do not need Congress's approval to write regulations for the market regulators, CFTC and the SEC. And what you're about to hear in the next two clips is Elizabeth Warren baiting her and walking her into the trap, because what the real reason is she's going to tell her, you should be taking action. Right? And in fact, she does tell her that in the last clip that you're going to hear, and that you don't have the right to point the finger at Congress for not doing anything, because you're supposed to do it before it becomes a threat and before it becomes a systemic risk. But the real funny part to all of this is you're listening to Elizabeth Warren grill her, is that even though it is true, it is the agency's purview, as it says on the website for FSOC, to take action for things that are systemic risk before they become that. But what's really funny is you're hearing all of this from a political official who gets voted on to have office, right? And obviously she wants someone else to do the work. So if it's wrong, I can just stand in the ivory tower and point out what was wrong about it, because they could in Congress pass legislation and get this done and organize this space, and you could still see FSOC play a role. But listen to these two clips. Pretty interesting stuff here.
I agree that the stablecoin market poses significant risks and that Congress and our regulators need to contain these risks. And that is where you come in. You advise the Financial Stability Oversight Council, FSOC, and you sometimes sit in these meetings as Secretary Yellen's substitute. FSOC's job, according to Treasury's website, is, quote, identifying emerging threats to financial stability and coordinate regulatory actions to address them, end quote. So, Under Secretary Lang, if you believe that stablecoins are a serious emerging threat to our financial system, then have you advised FSOC to use the tools that Congress gave it specifically to mitigate threats before they get out of hand?
That's the first bait.
So FSOC, as you say, has the responsibility to identify risks to financial stability. It is discussing these issues. It does convene the regulators. They have been discussing consumer protection and investor protection, illicit finance, and taking steps to assess what risks and what authorities regulators have. The PWG was recommended, which is a subset of the FSOC with most tangible interests, to assess whether there are existing regulatory gaps, however, in assessing to address the risks of stablecoins as a use for payments, and identified some gaps and made some recommendations.
So you are moving at least in that direction? Is that what you're telling me? I want to make sure I just understand your testimony here today.
Yes, the PWG is making recommendations, and they complement the existing authorities that regulators have. Well, the SEC, the CFTC, and the banking regulators are issuing guidance carefully about how banks should
I understand about the other regulators.
I'm asking you about FSOC's role. Now let's hear the final clip, because this is where she brings it home. And she says, I'm asking about FSOC. It says on your website, FSOC can take action before it becomes systemic risk. Pointing a finger at Congress does not give you or FSOC the right to ignore your statutory responsibilities. Elizabeth Warren is grandstanding on this woman at the highest order here, that we're not going to do it, you do it. And you know why? Because we can get voted out if we get it wrong, but we appointed you, Nellie Liang. We appointed you, so you do it. This is where you do the bidding because you were appointed, and if you don't get it right, we'll point our finger at you and still be able to stay in office. Take a listen to this.
It's a bit different.
Here we go.
I'm asking about FSOC because I don't want monitoring to be a way to just avoid doing your job. In your testimony before the House Financial Services last week, You suggested that FSOC should not and would not act ahead of Congress. That's something the crypto industry might find comforting, but it is not consistent with FSOC's mission. Did you misstate something last week?
So what I intended to say, I didn't see that, is FSOC has a responsibility to look at the tools it has.
Well, not just to look, but to use.
They can apply. And the situation is developing very quickly. And so how different tools would apply, it's a bit difficult to prejudge how they would be used.
Okay, but you are willing to use them ahead of Congress?
If that is the case and it is assessed that they are a systemic risk that needs to be addressed.
Well, not that they are a systemic risk. Remember what it says on the website, before that risk has reached fruition. You know, I worry that you're approaching the crypto market with blinders on. You talk a lot about the benefits of stablecoins, benefits that have been promised for years and that have still not materialized. And all the while, you are not talking about the risks that are flashing bright red in our faces here. Congress needs to put guardrails around crypto, and I'm writing a bill to do just that. But there's no reason to delay. Pointing a finger at Congress does not give you or FSOC the right to ignore your current statutory responsibilities.
Oh my goodness. I tell you, from the mouth of babes, Elizabeth Warren here, just grandstanding on the Undersecretary for the U.S. Treasury here, saying, warning you on how to do your job and don't point the finger at us. It doesn't give you the right to ignore your statutory responsibilities. I want to remind you what it says on your website about taking action before the systemic risk actually becomes a factor. I tell you, this kind of verbiage tells me two things. One, they want FSOC and the undersecretary and the appointees in these positions to take the responsibility and take the action. So if it doesn't work out, they don't have to take the blame. They got somebody to point the finger at. Number two, I feel like they probably realize inside the Senate, they don't have the votes to get done what they want to get done, or at least from Elizabeth Warren's vision. So we're going to see what this bill is. Right? Because if this bill's worth its weight in salt, it'll bring everybody with it, because this bill for crypto, no matter what it is, it should be a bipartisan effort, because it's about the innovation of the fourth industrial revolution and not stifling it, so we can all watch the next industrial revolution happen, which is a fintech blockchain revolution, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what? And that's got me excited, because I was contacted not long ago by ExoJet. Shout out to Frank. And Frank's doing a great job over there. And they said they wanted to be in this crypto sector, in this crypto niche, because they believe that not too far from now, a lot of you hearing my voice, and hopefully me too, along with you, that we'll be in a place where we could actually enjoy flying private like some of the wealthiest people in the world. Now, I do believe a lot of us are going to have that opportunity. So I want to show you, what is it going to look like right here when we get the opportunity to take on some of these choices right here? Hey, maybe I want to take the family on a private flight to Florida or to California or wherever it is. Well, you know what? Frank believes that this space has a lot to offer because of the investors in this space and because of the way he knows that they want to live. So I'm showing you this to try to help Frank out at ExoJets, and I'm going to put the link in the top of the description so you can reach out, contact him, find out what it is, and see if it works out for you, or maybe it will in the future. That's going to do it for me. I want to live the crypto life. That's what I want to do. Check out the merch link for that as well. I'll catch all of you on the next one.